Hello, this is Jose, and this is the Cinematic Dogma podcast. As every week, I'm joined by my incomparable friend, Blake.
Happy to be here, Jose, and very excited to discuss today's movie.
I was thinking about your opening, like quote, sentence, I don't know how to say it, your catchphrase of, I'm here to tell you what to watch and what you don't watch. So I was expecting it, and you're going to be like giving a spin, because today we're going to be like talking about the newest movie. I don't know if it will be the last movie, but one of the 70s and early 80s, maybe, maestro. That is Francis Ford Coppola, and the movie is Megalopolis.
Ugh, whose pick was this?
It was the cinema. It was more of we're trying to decide what is coming out this week, that it could be interesting. And we tried to watch like a horror movie, but unfortunately that didn't last like too long in cinemas. And at the same time, Megalopolis opened. And I think that we mentioned when they open it in Cannes or in Venice, I don't know in which festival they open it, is that we're talking about like this is going to be interesting. Not good. It's going to be interesting.
And not to spoil our conversation, but did you find it interesting?
I found it. Let's just leave it there. It's well, let's just say that it's interesting, but not for the content, more for the how was this made kind of approach.
I'm really looking forward to this.
But yeah, should we start with the summary? I don't think that it's worth it to just like talk about Francis Ford Coppola. Is that we had like recorded in the past about him. The Godfather is a masterpiece, 1 and 2. Part 3 is Sofia Coppola, sorry. And then other movies, we watched Cotton Club by him. We watched Dracula.
Is that all? So he actually hasn't directed anything since Betwixt Now and Sunrise, which was in 2022. Yeah. I mean, I haven't heard of the last like 5 films he's done. Betwixt Now and Sunrise, Distant Vision, Henri Langlois va Poupard. Oh, that's a short. Twixt, which I think is Vampire. Tetro. I think the last one he made that was kind of a splash was Youth Without Youth, which was not great.
Yeah, so I think that we mentioned it in one of the previous episodes, but maybe it's like his time has passed a bit. It's a bit more like he was like pretty big on his early career, and now he's coming to a bit more of a forgotten, quote unquote, or a bit on the side of people remember him, but they always like bring back like other movies from his past, not the current ones.
I mean, he definitely peaked in 1990 with The Godfather Part 3. And Godfather, where do you go from there?
Yeah, only down. That's the only way that you can go. But yeah, so I think that we can start summarizing this a tiny bit. Do you want to summarize it, or do you want me to summarize it?
I can attempt to summarize it. Yes.
Okay.
I left the theater watching this last night with my husband about 12:30 in the morning, and I specifically said to him, "I'm not sure that I understood the plot. Like, what was the conflict?" Basically, there's a city that's apparently not New York. It's supposed to be like New York, but it's literally New York. So whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they're calling it New Rome. There's a lot of references to old Rome and how America is the new superpower and what does it mean to be a mega civilization. And there's all this philosophical talk about how civilization will be the death of humanity. But essentially, we see this city that's like modern day New York, which is a playground for the rich and famous, and also kind of a prison for people who are the have-nots. And we run into 3 main white characters. They're white men, because that's still who runs New York. The first one it's Adam Driver, who plays Caesar. And he is a young visionary who sees the future of the city as being uh, futuristic. He wants to tear down kind of the slums of New Rome and build
Yeah.
something that he sees as, the future of humanity, whatever. But then
Yeah,
there's
but he
the
does it.
mayor.
Sorry,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, just a small caveat. But he also does it on the way of saving civilization.
Saving the right people in civilization, tearing down the
Sure,
rest home. Sure.
sure.
And then there is the mayor, Cicero, um, who is firmly rooted more in reality, trying to like fix the city as it is, not trying to usher in a new, I don't know, era of
Age.
future, right?
Yeah.
He has a daughter named Julia, um, who ends up becoming a disciple of Caesar, and working for him and believing in his vision. And then there is this ultra rich banker played by John Voight, um, who is somehow connected to the plot somehow, and he marries a celebrity who is played by Aubrey Plaza. Her name is
Platinum.
Wow Platinum. I'm so proud that I remembered all the characters' names. I'm not even referencing IMDb. So, and she
Nice.
is also in love with Caesar, but she's also money hungry and power hungry, really. She's more concerned about her ratings than she is with money because she's a newscaster. So she marries John Voight, and then essentially we just watch these three men and their two women kind of struggle against each other, not in a clear conflict, but just egos, I guess, bristling up against each other for their visions of the future and what they're trying to achieve.
I could say that there is like a big animosity between the mayor and the design. Sorry, how I say it? Like the committee of design head that is Adam Driver
The design,
committee
yeah, something. This is under the jurisdiction of
authority, the
the
design
authority of,
authority
yeah, design authority.
that
Sure,
is Adam
there's like
Driver.
animosity, but like, could you clearly define that besides they're two powerful men? Not,
Well, I
not.
mean, they hate each other.
Yeah, but I mean, Francis Ford Coppola didn't bother explaining why or giving like a background. They're just like, here's two powerful men and they don't like each other.
Yeah. One thing that I would add is that there is a lot of secondary characters like played by famous actors that they could be like main actors in any other movie. So I'm pretty surprised about like the cast here because you have also like Jason Schwartzman that I don't even know what his role is. You have Dustin Hoffman that he's like in three scenes
Yeah.
basically. Is that you have also like Lawrence Fishburne that is the driver. Is that there is like a lot of fairly famous people, and then there is a virgin.
Did you recognize that version?
I checked her out before I got into the cinema, and she's a singer.
Yeah, so she was actually on one of those talent shows where you come in and do a talent and other judges judge you.
Oh, good.
And she went on as like an 11-year-old and sang an original song, and she got like the triple X where you just like you get into the final, I think. And
Oh,
she
what's
was
it?
super impressive, and it was like a YouTube clip that went viral. So when I saw this actress and she had a very specific smile, I was like, I know that person. It's this young singer
Yeah, yeah,
who then
and
like,
she's
kind
in.
of had a big role in a Francis Ford Coppola film. Good for her.
Sure. I mean, I don't know if it's like a big role or not. It's a bit more of a. I don't know if you want to summarize more.
I think this is still in theaters. I probably laid out everything that I can. This is
Okay.
just a big jumbled mess, and I think I gave you an idea of what this film tries to base its story on.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you what did you think about it, but you already jumped and agree, and I fully agree with like this is a pastiche. This is like a lot of ideas, like trying to just like get together in some kind of way. That's the reason why I was mentioning like the Virgin. This is important 10 minutes of the movie, and then she completely disappears.
I did enjoy the scandal she was in. I won't just.
Yeah, yeah.
exposed too much, but in New Rome, they have a tradition where they auction off a young virgin, and the rich men of the city bid for it, which is an interesting scene. I enjoyed that scene, to be honest. But the rest of the scenes, it felt like Francis Ford Coppola spent the last 80 years watching classic films and was like, I'm going to put that in a movie, and I'm going to put that in the same movie. Like, he's like, I'm going to make a million references and not be super certain what he wants this film to be.
Yeah, basically, it's pretty clear that he's inspired by Metropolis. I mean, pretty close name too, by all of the surrealism, like German surrealism from the Silent Age.
And the Art Deco stuff.
And the Art Deco, yeah, like that kind of architecture that you find like in those German movies, you know, and even like that from the 30s and 40s from Hollywood, you know, like from big Hollywood epics. Is that he tries to just like mash everything together, then he has like a bit of sci-fi on top of it. He tries to make it more important than life with some, I mean, those monologues from Adam Driver and from, like the mayor, what's his name? Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are super cringe. Is that this maybe one of the worst and more convoluted scripts that I've seen in a very long time.
So I think the first scene where Adam Driver has kind of a significant monologue is where he's raised this building, and they've planned the future of the city out in the place where this building used to be, and the city comes, and these three men come, and they kind of argue, and Adam Driver just goes into this, he starts quoting Hamlet for like 4 minutes.
Oh, yes.
And my husband speaks English incredibly well, but English is not his first language. And when he just started quoting Shakespeare extensively, I was like, first off, this is dumb. Second off, my poor husband's not getting it.
Well, I mean, he even like just starts with to be or not to be. And at that point is that when he starts that monologue, I just felt like there's like people like laughing in the cinema about like, are you serious? Are you going to be like this pretentious on your script? And yes, he is going to, because he doesn't stop there. He thinks that he's creating a masterpiece, like a timeless masterpiece for the ages with this movie.
Yes, exactly. Like a timeless masterpiece that will be put in the Library of Congress, and people will always want to see. Oh, Julia, at some point just start speaking only in Marcus Aurelius quotes that are like vaguely related to what's happening on the screen, and I was just like,
So no. This movie tries to be like a lot of things. You know, it tries to be like a sci-fi story. It tries to be like a family drama. It tries to be like a Roman movie. You know, so it's that we have like the Colosseum, like the Colosseum scene. We have like these scenes where they suddenly start talking in Latin for no particular reason or explanation. I also hated all of the voiceover that it did.
With Lawrence
Fishburne, it made this, that it made disappear like for an hour, and then it comes back, and it's like there is no real reason. But the one thing that I was wondering, what was the attitude of the audience in your cinema?
There were only maybe 2 other people in my theater.
Oh.
So it was showing on the IMAX screen and in one of the very small theaters at the theater where I saw it, and IMAX was sold out, so we just went to the small screen.
Oh wow! So they actually sold out the IMAX. Cool.
It was not sold out; it was sold out of good seats.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
Still, so I went to the Landmark, and there was like probably 20 people. That is not a lot, you know, but it's like given the reviews and the previews for this movie, I just felt it's like, okay, well, maybe this is fine. At the beginning of the movie, the couple that it was behind me, they were already laughing like out loud at some of the stuff. And for me, it was like at the same time when they were laughing, I was like just like basically covering my eyes, like, no, that's not happening. That's not. The director that made The Godfather didn't actually direct what is happening right now on the screen. But I was trying to be a bit more of a, hey, this is a bit of a train wreck that I cannot pull my eyes away from. Now, that was more of my feeling towards the end. There was like a part in the middle of the movie that if we were not planning to record about it, I would have left. And that
After
has
we
only happened
record,
like,
you'll have to tell me.
yeah, but towards the end of the movie, I was also like, okay, I'm going to laugh. I'm going to laugh at this. So like the resolution of all of the storyline for the Virgin, and I won't give away what it was, but I was like laughing aloud about like, seriously, you actually thought that this was like a smart commentary or something. Cool.
There was so much wrong with this film. Honestly, I felt like not only was it not good, but the most offensive part is that it had no idea what it wanted to be, both in terms of like storytelling, but also in terms of like tone and style. Like I just feel like it wildly just went in a million different directions, and like you brought up the narration that came and went, and then sometimes there would be like stone signs that that had been chiseled into with these supposedly deep sayings that weren't, and this was just a big sloppy mess. And I started to check the time about every 10 minutes, about an hour in, and I was like, no, this has to end at some point.
Yep. What is going to say? At some point, I thought that it was going for the campy feeling of, like Moulin Rouge. And it's a Moulin Rouge, for example, is that then suddenly can jump into a tiny bit more serious scene, but you always know what it is, and you know that Baz Luhrmann knew what he was doing. I don't think that Francis Ford Coppola knew what he was doing. This felt, and pardon for this, you remember in Sunset Boulevard, like the script that Norma Desmond is writing, and the first time that the other guy reads it and is like, this is a complete mess. There is no way of saving this. It's almost like a toddler wrote it. This is it.
I wish I could contradict you, but no. This felt like somebody gave a film school sophomore $150 million and they're like, do something deep.
Dude, yeah. But I mean, the thing is that this is a director that did Apocalypse Now, did The Godfather. It's just bizarre to me that are you this disconnected? Is that this is not like Tommy Wiseau recording The Room. This is like a world famous director, respected director that actually put his own money on the line for creating this, because this was his long dream of creating this bigger than life movie.
Yeah, I'm honestly blown away. Didn't he sell his vineyards to fund this?
I read a tiny bit more. I think that he actually took a loan against the vineyards, but he had already merged like the vineyards and his emporium like with another company. So it's a bit more complicated. It's not directly like selling the vineyards. But yeah, he put his money there.
This is under IMDb trivia, so who knows how true it is. But this says Francis Ford Coppola financed the entire $120 million out of his own pocket. He did the same with Apocalypse Now and with One from the Heart from 1981. And the failure of One from the Heart made him declare bankruptcy. So all of the films up until The Rainmaker in 1997 were made to pay off the debt he incurred from One from the Heart.
Oh my god. No, I think that he's at a better spot right now. Is that because I think that he actually like merged like his vineyards with this other company for $650 million. So it's not that he's going to be poor, but this is probably one of the worst financial decisions that I've seen in my life.
You and I talked a few weeks ago or months ago, and the question was, how do you think Sofia Coppola felt watching Francis Ford Coppola piss away $120 million of your inheritance on a shitty film? And I was like, well, maybe it's a great film. If I was Sofia Coppola and I went in and saw this and I was like, Dad, seriously, $120 million?
Well, actually, I'm going to start quoting, so please, audience, don't take it on me. I read in an interview with the song that he was proud that he was still like being bold on doing this kind of decisions. He was saying that I saw my father like way more alive than I've seen him in years. And that may be true, and maybe there is a part of, hey, I don't care that you guys are not going to be financing me for this. It's like, I don't care. I'm not going to be like waiting for a Netflix, like doing what Netflix did with David Fincher. About, oh, you want to do Mank? Is like, here you go, money, just do Mank. Is like, I'm not going to be like waiting for that. I want to just have my vision and compromise. Now, that doesn't mean that your vision is going to be good or is worthy of being made a movie of.
Yeah, and good for him. And how old is he? Like 80, 85?
Yeah, I know.
I'm just guessing. And at that point in your life, like, you should be spending the money that you earned and doing things that you love, which is great. But then don't take up a slot at Cannes.
What did he do?
So do that, follow your dreams, make whatever film you want using the money you have, but don't take up one of the slots at Cannes to pretend that this is worth anybody's time. The film festival.
One of the slots, yeah, one of the slots. I understood one of the slats.
Oh, no.
What?
It's too early to just use that sort of language.
So was this like one of the movies that he had like a standing ovation or not? What was the reaction?
The New York Times review that I only read half of because it's so long said that at Cannes it was like wildly embraced and wildly dismissed. Okay. Like, I think the reaction was super split, which is indicative. Well, the Rotten Tomatoes score is almost exactly 50%, and you know that I feel like on Rotten Tomatoes something that's 50 to 60 can be really interesting because it's so divisive. But if you look at the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, even the positive ones are like, well, he did The Godfather Part 2.
I guess that I can add 2 points to this. And I think that's like a very interesting point, is that if Francis Ford Coppola wasn't attached to this, first, this movie wouldn't have been done. And second, is like, even if for some kind of fever dream a studio is willing to actually fund this, I think that this could be one of the worst review movies since a very, very long time. Is that I could actually see a parallel timeline to ours, where Megalopolis becomes like one of more of these like midnight movies for making fun of.
I agree, and there were points where I was like, is this the new Showgirls? Like, honestly.
I thought the same about like, okay, so Paul Verhoeven thought that maybe his movie was a bit more serious than it actually was, or maybe Elizabeth Berkley thought that she was, this was her Oscar. But in this case, I had the feeling, but that Paul Verhoeven is a bit more of a provocateur. So it's like he's going to be like in with the joke to some extent.
You mispronounced it. It's pronounced genius.
Whatever. So I think that Francis Ford Coppola was never in with the joke. Never. I think that he's a bit out of touch with what he produced. And that's like the part that I compare more with Tommy Wiseau. It's like if we trust what we saw in The Disaster Artist, when he gets to the opening and the cinema is full and he thinks that he made a masterpiece and people start like laughing out loud, it's like, this is this movie.
Yeah, I can see that. And I completely agree with everything you said, with the exception that if a studio had agreed to make this, at least they would have been like, Francis, do whatever you want, but we're going to give you an editor. Because I think, like, with the right team that's controlled by a studio, maybe there's something here that could have been saved. I don't know. Even that feels like a stretch. But yes, without his name attached, he certainly wouldn't have gotten somebody as talented as Adam Driver. And I think he did a great job with what he was asked to do.
I partially agree. I mean, I want to give like a benefit of the doubt to Adam Driver. That is like his acting is histrionic at some points. And some other points, it feels like, hey, this is an absurd comedy, and you are like trying to play it like a bit more serious than it is. I think that everything comes from the directing.
Yeah, but I don't think the director was saying, no, this is an absurdist comedy. Be funnier.
Oh, no. No, there are like sometimes, I don't know, you remember when he actually like just puts his jacket, that he puts it in a very, like dramatic manner, and the whole cinema was laughing about like, does he think it's cool? or then he talks in a bit more of a clownish way, but he's like just making fun of other characters, and he's like, does he think this is smart? But I think that is the script. The script, and Francis Ford Coppola directing this as a complete train wreck, not knowing what he wants to get out of the character.
You could tell that for Coppola, there was some really deep meaning behind the jacket, because at some point, Caesar has a clandestine meeting with WoW Platinum.
Platinum, yeah.
And it's cold outside. She's not wearing a coat, so he gives her his coat. Then she gets offended by something else later, so she drops it on the ground, and her Bentley runs it over very slowly. And I was like, okay, we clearly were supposed to get something, but I didn't get it.
So, yeah, at that point I thought, like, so were you expecting us to be emotionally attached to the coat?
I think he was. I think he thought that we were going to be like, oh, they ran over Caesar's coat.
That floaty coat. Yeah, it was, honestly, it's one of these movies that I wouldn't mind watching again, like with some drinks or whatever other help. But I feel like this could work more as an absurd comedy than actually a for the ages epic.
Yep, I agree completely.
Okay. So should we go over the questions?
Yes.
Yes, please. Okay. Would you watch it again?
I'm going to say no. I'm not going to spend another 2.5 hours in this world.
I'm going to go with yes, but it's not going to be on a plane. It's not going to be anytime soon. But it's what I was telling you, that I felt a bit confused. It's almost like a teenager with a hormonal rush that is like, hey, I don't know exactly how to feel right now. When I was in the cinema, is that I felt sad, guilty. It was almost like a stage of rage, stages of grief that I would be like just like feeling until at the end I jump into acceptance, and I was just laughing along everyone else on the cinema about like, this is hilarious. This is unintentionally hilarious, but I think that I would like to watch it as a comedy from the beginning.
So, if it had a different script and a different director, then maybe you'd want to watch it again.
No. I'm saying that I would watch it again, but I would approach it as a comedy.
Oh, I see. You're not saying... Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know how to approach it. It's like at the beginning I was approaching it like, this is something serious, this is a sci-fi movie, and we didn't even mention that Adam Driver has the power to stop time.
Yeah, because it's so ridiculous and irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Like, he doesn't even use it to do anything.
Nope. It's like one more idea to the mix of things, It's like, so every time that he was using it, I was like, what are you getting with this? Just besides like the cool, quote-unquote, aesthetics of it. So I think that now that I know all of the different pieces in this movie, watching it again can be more, quote-unquote, enjoyable, but not for the reasons that Coppola would expect.
All right, that's fair. So no for me, yeah. Yes for you.
Yes for me. Would you recommend it?
No.
Yeah,
I don't even know what it is. How can you recommend something that you don't know what it is?
I mean, it's a movie. You don't know what movie it is.
But if that's the like scale we're judging it on, there are other things I'd recommend. Oh, you want to see a movie? Boy, do I have something to recommend.
Fair. I'm just saying, like just being a bit nitpicking is like, yeah, this is a movie. It's not a movie that I will never mention to anyone in the context of recommending. But if someone asks me, it's like, would you recommend Megalopolis? My answer would be, hell no.
All right. So no from both of us.
No. Would you remember it?
I'll remember the impression that I got 100%, but there's just so much thrown in here. I mean, we didn't even mention Shia LaBeouf's character, which is somewhat significant.
Oh.
And his sister, played by Chloe Fineman from SNL, which I was like, what are you doing here, Chloe Fineman? You're supposed to be in 30 Rock.
Oh my God. Yeah, I have forgotten that. Shia LaBeouf was the cousin, no?
Yeah, he was Claudio.
Oh, yeah.
Who cross-dressed the entire time.
Yeah. Why not? Yeah. Uh, so you would remember it?
No, no, no. I'm saying I'll remember the impression, but if you were asked to ask me to give a plot synopsis in 1 year, I would be like, "Are you sure we saw that movie, Jose? I don't remember that."
No, I would remember the feelings.
Yeah.
The feelings that I had. It would be like a bit more of a traumatic experience of where did this movie touch you? It's like, yes, I remember in my heart. But story-wise, no. I don't even understand now if there was a story, like a true story behind. Is there anything artistic about it?
Sure. Fine. Yes. The answer is yes. There are some beautiful images on screen. And that's true. If you can separate them from the actual film
From the
itself,
yeah.
you're like, wow, what I'm looking at is really beautiful. On the other side of the same coin, there were scenes that clearly Francis Ford Coppola ran out of money for, and so did bad special effects. That I was like,
Which one?
so like any scene that takes place in the arena where they auctioned off the virginity of that girl, where they did the
Yeah.
chariot races, if you just look at the audience, it's so poorly digitally inserted. It's
Oh
really,
yeah.
really bad. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you had the budget. Did you
Yeah.
put it into costumes? Because it's not. Anyway, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent.
No, it's
There
fine.
are some beautiful moments. It's true.
Yeah, I agree. There is like some stuff that is artistic. The problem is that it's pretty hard to separate when you think about the movie, seeing those scenes as artistic
Yes.
because there is a script, because there is acting, because there is a lack of a story. Is that everything else is like so bad that even in sometimes you have like some inspired imagery, everything else brings it down. So I will go with yes, but it's a bit more of a caveat. Yes, of a probably you can watch a trailer and just get the artistic part
100%.
and forget about the rest. Yeah. Is it a timeless piece?
I feel like we need to refine this question at some point in the future. Like, what are we really trying to answer? Yes, this movie will be perceived the same way in 100 years as I perceived it last night.
I agree. I feel like this is the type of movie. Well, a part of me is wondering, what about if this movie? Imagine like the mediums have been like here for 80 years. Like this movie was released in 1935.
I mean, so honestly, while you were saying that question, I had this fear. I was like, in 100 years, is this going to be the Metropolis of its day? Like, there will be film nerds and 2130. They're like, oh my god, have you seen this early 2000s film called Megalopolis? It's brilliant.
No, because we already have Metropolis. You know, Metropolis is not going to be erased. Francis Ford Coppola is not going to get the license of Metropolis for just like removing it from from the face of the earth. So I think that this is a evolution of it. But what I wonder is that I think that he was like trying to get a bit ahead of his time. It's like, and you were mentioning this before we started recording. It's like he had other ideas about like what he could do, but the technology and the mediums were not there. What I read is that he wanted to have like a way that the audience could stand up and ask a question to the actors, and then the movie would stop for a second and they would actually just break the fourth wall and just answering the question and then continuing the movie. And the idea would be that he would pre-record like many different scenes that they could be intertwined into the movie.
So what he's saying is like filmmaking isn't strong enough a medium. He wants to break into like
To his
filmmaking
vision.
/ plays because that's the future and it's groundbreaking. No. He sounds like a douchebag director at Sundance who no.
Just no. Just no. Now, if he had actually had done something like that, I may have been a bit more like, this has been tiny from the perspective that it broke like some kind of mold. I had a feeling that he didn't break any mold beyond the money that he spent there. That probably has been like one of the biggest like money burning since Waterworld or The Patriot.
Ugh, compared to Waterworld or comparing Waterworld to this, that seems like
Unfair.
an award-winning masterpiece, to be honest.
Pandora worthy. But yeah, would you turn Megalopolis into a TV show?
No.
I mean, the thing is, I can see many TV shows that they influence this. Is I can see Succession, for example, is like all of the story with John Boyd. Is that hey, you have like these potential inheritors that they are like trying to figure it out, like what to do with the money.
That's a good point. So my answer is still no, but like, I desperately wanted to see more of Aubrey Plaza's character and her background. Like, there's interesting things that, yeah, give her a spin-off, like Better Call Saul. I would watch a Better Call Saul about WoW Platinum.
With Aubrey Plaza. Yep. No, on that I agree. And I almost feel, sorry, I know that I keep coming back to the kind of, you don't know what tone your movie is. This felt, her character felt straight from the Fifth Element.
I could see that. Yeah.
Like the recorder, like the journalist, like super over the top, like the gay journalist.
I liked him.
Like a host. Yeah. So it's pretty clear that the influence are here, and as you say, it's like you could develop like different pieces. And I honestly think that if you tone it down, if you editorial the crap down of this movie, there could be like different ideas that they would be interesting to explore. All of them together at the end is a mess.
Yep.
So
agreed.
Yeah, maybe with a lot of TV shows, it's like maybe, but like with the impression that they created, I'm good. I'm fine. Do you think this movie could have been better?
Yes, absolutely. I'm not going to bother to list things. Okay, let's start with a better script and better direction.
Yep.
Yes, this could have been far better.
One thing that I wonder is like how, well, I agree with you, but I wonder how would this movie would be if Francis Ford Coppola would have written it and then Sofia Coppola would have directed it.
Can you imagine Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson in this film?
Just exactly what I was thinking.
I love that he produced our last episode's film, Virgin Suicides.
Let's just remove the order here. Let's just ignore
one of our previous episodes.
Or future. We don't know. But yeah, it's like he has been supporting like his daughter's cinema for a very long time.
And Jason Schwartzman. I think he's the only reason Jason Schwartzman has a career.
Because he supported. Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Well, they're cousins. Sophia and Jason.
Who was the other one?
Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage, yeah, I couldn't think of the name. So, should we score this masterpiece of a movie?
Yes. Can you remind me what I scored Brazil? Because as I walked away from this film, I said, this feels like a Brazil.
Wow. Okay. Let me just check. So, yep. This is pretty close to what my score was going to be. I'm going to say my score because it's your score from Brazil. My score is a 3.
And what did I give Brazil? 2.5?
A 3. No,
I give it a 3. Okay, I'm gonna give Megalopolis a 3.5.
You fucker. We're going to rewatch Brazil because if you think that Megalopolis is better than Brazil, you are dead wrong.
I mean, do you want to watch Brazil right now? Because I will watch it live on this call and we can discuss it.
I don't have time. I have to have a plane to take. But thanks for the suggestion. Okay. Anything else to say about Megalopolis?
We laughed a lot, but all joking aside, this is a waste of time. Like, there's no need to see this. No.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would recommend that when it gets... Right now it's on YouTube already for $25. Not for that price, but when it's in any streaming platform, it's like if you are with a group of friends and you are all like a bit intoxicated with whatever is your choice, is that this can be like a bit of a background, what the fuck is happening? And it's not, it's like, oh my god, I was high, so I didn't understand it. It's like, there is there is no way of understanding this.
Honestly, I thought about 30 minutes into the movie, if I had come into this theater approaching this as if I was going to laugh at a Showgirls type movie, I would have had more fun. So just
Yep.
hate watch
Go
it.
with that.
Hate watch Megalopolis.
He was the last Francis Ford Coppola movie until now.
Yes.
Okay, so to all of our audience, thank you so much for joining us for one more episode of the Cinematic Talk.
Until next time.